Tight ends are considered to be a quarterback's best friend. Well, this year in the SEC, some of the best tight ends are going to be every quarterback's best friend because there's a lot of talent. Despite the loss of Brock Bowers and Jatavion Sanders to the NFL draft, this year's SEC class of tight ends is going to be very good despite the loss of previous ones. And today, we're going to break down some of the top tight ends around the SEC. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I'm Lucas Hill here of SEC Unfiltered. Make sure you follow us on every social media platform on Instagram, Facebook, X, and, of course, TikTok at SEC Unfiltered. Also, subscribe down below. Check out the podcast version of this episode over at secunfiltered.com. Make sure you turn on your bell notifications so that you are staying up to date on the latest from us here at SEC Unfiltered. Today's video is brought to you by our good friends over at RHOBACK. RHOBACK.com. Go to that website. Got some great shirts. Got some brand new arrivals. Got the Slim Up Bar shirt. Couple Q zips that are really, really nice. Probably some of the most comfortable shirts that you will ever wear. Go ahead and use that code SECU. Get yourself 20% off your first purchase. Save you a lot of money without a doubt. That's promo code SECU. Get yourself 20% off your first purchase. So, starting this list off, this is, again, in no specific order. We're going to go with Bowers Sharp and Jake Roberts over in Oklahoma. So both guys are going to bring a unique skill set that can be used in different packages. Now, Joe John Finley and Seth Littrell are familiar with these two guys. Littrell was Roberts' offensive coordinator and head coach whenever he was at North Texas before Roberts made the jump from there over to Baylor and now, of course, is here in Norman. This is a guy that's a very good blocking tight end. Doesn't have a lot of athleticism, but makes up for it as a pass pro guy. Excellent ball get off, can climb up to that second level, take out a blitzing backer or a backer that's trying to scrape across. Now with Sharp, I got an opportunity to witness him firsthand whenever he was at Southeastern. This is a guy that can catch in the open field. You can put him in the slot, very efficient. Whenever he gets out into the open space, he can make plays and is very much capable of doing this time and time again. He started off his college career as a quarterback, made the transition to tight end, and was very efficient. You put him in the Wildcat on third and fourth down situations, and he can guarantee you he can run straight up the middle and really make a difference for this Oklahoma offense and really build the dynamic that they can really elevate and be much better than what they were at last year. Coming up next, I got Arlis Boardingham. Here's another guy that I think can line up in the slot. 6'5", 230. He's very athletic. He's a freakish type of tight end. This is a Florida team that hasn't really had much success at the tight end position in the last 5 or so years, but Boardingham really took strides last year, had a very good season, was a freshman All-American. This is a guy that where Graham Mertz had a conference low average depth of target and did his best just to keep the ball out of harm's way. And Boardingham is a big reason why. This is a guy that he can chuck underneath as that third option and be able to create space, get some positive yards, and turn upfield and run over a guy or two and really just keep his legs churning on his way to either a first down or get into the end zone. So here's a guy that Mertz needs, especially going into this year when you lose a guy like Ricky Pearsall, who was your deep threat last year, and there's not a whole lot of depth as well on the outside for Florida, which could be a problem down the road. But we'll just have to see. But Boardingham is going to be much better this year going into his redshirt sophomore season. Coming up next, I got Josh Simon and Brady Hunt over at South Carolina. Now, Trey Knox is gone. So that's a big hole that you need to fill. Knox was a fantastic tight end for the Gamecocks. So Simon's going to have the opportunity to take hold of this tight end room. He outplayed Trey Knox last year, but there's also some competition on the way. Brady Hunt was an freshman All-American whenever he was at Ball State. And despite missing all of 2023 due to an ankle injury, he's still going to get some significant playing time. He's healed up. He's a much better player this year, and he's going to be a very dynamic tight end. Mainly, he'll be used in third and short situations, but with Josh Simon coming in, 6'4", 259. He's the 6-year guy out of Western Kentucky. Was actually was a second team Conference USA in 22 and won the toughness award on offense. You know, he's a very experienced player. Obviously, like we mentioned, very tough guy, big leadership role. That's what South Carolina has been missing for a while. And Simon's going to be the leader, but we'll have to see between him and Brady Hunt. But at the end of the day, I think both tight ends are going to be very good for what South Carolina needs. Trey Watson from Texas A&M is quite interesting. You lose Max Wright to the transfer portal to North Carolina, and Jake Johnson's graduating already. So the Aggies are very, very low at tight end, but Trey Watson has an opportunity to be that difference maker for them. He's from Fresno State, split his time between in the slot and on the line of scrimmage for the Bulldogs last year, but he's going to operate in a more tight formation under Mike Elko. It's going to give him much better matchups against backers, gives his short area athleticism to shine. So you're going to see him be a matchup nightmare for linebackers everywhere. And when you get him on a crossing pattern, he's going to take that easy. He's a go-getter. He can easily catch the football very well. So there's no doubt in my mind that he can be an efficient player for the Aggies. Mason Taylor. This guy is interesting. I got to witness him a couple times. Most people just know him for what he did against Alabama. He had a fantastic game other than the caught 2-point conversion. Did a lot for them. But he did really well last year, improved as a tight end. The problem was he was just surrounded by so much depth on the outside that he wasn't really looked at as an efficient pass, that as like a downhill threat. And especially in the offense that LSU had last year, it's hard to get a tight end like that involved. But still, over the last 2 years, 74 receptions, 762, 4 scores as well. True Jr., he's going to get a lot more targets this year because you don't have a lot of experience on that outside. Kyron Lacey has some experience. CJ Daniels is in his first year with this offense. Chris Hilton's coming back from injury. He's been buried in the depth chart behind Thomas and Malik Neighbors. So those two guys, I think, will get a lot more targets. But I think the biggest thing for Garrett Nussmeier in his first year is that you got to trust your go-to guy, and that's what Mason Taylor is going to bring to the table. He's a guy that's an underneath weapon. He's a guy that's very fast for a tight end. And in some situations, don't be surprised if he lines up in the slot and goes down the field. This next guy that's on this list is a guy that I think needs to get a lot more attention, and that's Luke Hasz. Through the first 5 games of the year, he was the best tight end in all of the SEC, even better than Brock Bowers, too. He only played in 5 games, but he had 3 of his 16 receptions go for touchdowns, 8 picked up first downs, and caught them all for 253 yards. Over 5 games. That's very impressive. If he plays a full season, he's a first-team All-SEC as a tight end. But there's no doubt in my mind he's going to be even better. After coming back from his injury, didn't even make it to the month of October. So we really didn't get to see him in actual SEC play. I think we saw him one time, I think during the South Carolina game. Other than that, that was really it for him. But this is a very good tight end. Came from Bixby High School, very well-known high school. So People know about that. They know about his athleticism. Big target for a tight end. I think he was the number 3 tight end in the nation 2 years ago, coming out of high school. 6'3", 230 pounds. Was a midseason freshman All-American. Broke his collarbone against Texas A&M. I mean, this is a guy that is an efficient tight end. Caught 6 passes for 116 against LSU, 4 for 78 against BYU, and his lone reception against Texas A&M was one of his last of the season. And I don't think he even finished that game. So you think about what all he could have done this year. And that's going to give Taylon Green some room, because not only do you have a downfield threat in Andrew Armstrong, who should go for over 1,000 yards this year, now you have a tight end that can give you a safety measure in case those guys are covered. Going on to Georgia, we already mentioned about how to replace Brock Bowers and how it would be very, very difficult. But there's a guy that's very experienced with this Georgia offense, and another one that should take over games if you get him the football, and that's Oscar Delp and Benjamin Urasek. Delp flashed that skill set. He was more of a blocking tight end in some situations, while Bowers was more of that pass catching tight end. And I think Delp is going to be utilized more often as a pass catcher as well. 24 receptions, 284, averaged just over 10 yards a reception. He's going to be featured more in 2024. But when you add a guy like Urasek, who has the opportunity to showcase and take over games whenever he's getting the football, because against Hawaii in the first game of the season last year, 9 receptions, 138 yards, and a touchdown. For a tight end, that's a day. That's a fantastic day. So I think Carson Beck's going to have an opportunity to get these dudes the football. I think both will finish out with over 30 receptions. But again, with the deep threats that are down the field for this Georgia offense, it's going to be hard. But at the same time, I think that both of them will carry their skill sets. Both are excellent blocking tight ends, and I think both will greatly contribute in filling the hole that Brock Bowers left behind. Now, for the Texas Longhorns, I got Amari Niblack. So when you come from Alabama, you think, well, he's going to be an efficient player. But he didn't have the stats you'd think. All right? Even then, this dude is still a very good tight end. 20 receptions, 327, and 4 scores. And the thing about it is, Jalen Milroe wasn't the most accurate quarterback in the SEC. His legs took targets away from his pass catchers. But when you pair him along with Quinn Ewers, that's a fantastic combination. You saw what they did with Jatavion Sanders as that tight end, and what he did in the Steve Sarkisian offense. Now replace him and just put Niblack's jersey on. That's going to be a great combination. Now, Sanders finished with 45 catches over last year and finished overall with almost 100 catches over the 2 years that he played. Had over almost 1,300 yards as well to go along with 7 scores. Sanders in the very next year, in 23, was used more as a blocker. But he's going to be the most well-used tight end for this Longhorns team. And Niblack's going to do just that. Niblack's going to be put in a position to succeed, and he has the physical tools to capitalize off of that. So for the Ole Miss Rebels, Caden Priestcorn and Daquan Wright are going to be efficient. Now, if you're basing off potential alone, this duo is ranked number 1. Now, Priestcorn played in 10 games after he transfers from Memphis, and he was really good. 30 receptions, 449, and 4 scores. He's not a guy that's going to break many tackles or thrive outside the confines of the scheme, but he fits Lane Kiffin's well and is a big target for Jackson Dart, especially when you need a first down. Prescorn is going to fit that role perfectly. Now, for Wright, it's the complete opposite. This guy is going to be awesome. 28 catches, 366 in an offense that wasn't good at all. They were terrible last year on the offensive side of the ball for Virginia Tech. But he still finishes the year with that averaging 13 yards a catch. Wright is a guy that's going to be a guy that's going to get those 50-50 balls. You can trust him in the slot against a tight end or even an inside corner. He's a former basketball player. He's more like a wide receiver, and yet he's another chess piece that Lane Kiffin can work this fall. And to me, the best tight end in all of the SEC will be Rivaldo Fairweather. So we know that Peyton Thorne isn't an exciting quarterback. He's more like Jalen Milroe, except not as good. But Fairweather is a dog. 6'4", 252, came from FIU. In 3 years, caught over 50 balls, 838, 5 scores. And then this year has about just over a fourth of that with 38, 394, and was one short of the single season record of tying Philip Ludson-Kirkland's tight end record, when he caught 7 in 2011. He is just all over the field. You can trust him any day. He is a fantastic tight end. Now, despite the passing game being stale, Fairweather was a guy that created space for himself, led the team in catches and reception yards. Almost every game, this is a guy that you're going to see come up with a 50-50 ball. It was a bad pass, too. He's not going to get a much separation down the field. Other than cleaning up a few drops, he's going to be the best tight end in the SEC. And with Derek Nix coming from Ole Miss and an upgraded receiver room, especially with Cam Coleman, who's going to be the best freshman wide receiver in the SEC, Fairweather's going to be even better. I do believe that he's going to be more utilized in the passing game. I think Thorne's passing is going to get a bit better. He has to develop as a passer. He can't just rely on the run game, and he can't rely on the option. He has to be better as a passer, and he's got weapons around him because he can trust guys like that. Fairweather is going to be great. You're going to have Cam Coleman on the outside, many more weapons for Auburn. But Fairweather is going to be the difference maker. I can expect over 500 yards receiving from him and expect him to break Philip Ludson-Kirkland's record this year. This is going to be the best tight end in the SEC. Mark my words, no doubt about it. Let me know what you guys think. Did I miss any tight ends? Who is the best tight end according to you? Let me know down in the comments below. Again, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube. Hit the bell notification so you are notified for every SEC Unfiltered video. And until then, so long, everybody.